Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chasing a Murderer. We are on part 169 of Life Beyond the Grave, the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell story. Keep the videos sponsor and ad free. Hit like, subscribe, and share. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. We're in the timeline of September 20th through the 21st. We learned that Lori Vallow had looked up the word possessed validate JJ was a zombie. She had discussed with her good friend Melanie Gibb that JJ, her 7-year-old son, was climbing on cabinets and said he loved Satan. At the same time, she admitted that she wanted to get rid of her son because he was in the way of her mission. In other words, JJ was taking up too much of her precious time. She had a city of light she wanted to build with her lover, Chad Daybell. She talked it over with Melanie Gibb and decided that she wanted to send JJ back to Kay. She'd tell Kay that she had cancer and couldn't take care of him anymore. But if she did that, she wouldn't have a check coming in every month. What would she live on? In between making plans for JJ and talking about zombies, Alex, Lori, and Melanie spent some time playing a few games, singing on karaoke. JJ and Alex played a little Guitar Hero. And this is just so crazy to me, seeing how she has this loving environment for JJ, but at the same time, she's tired of him and wants to get rid of him. By this time in the timeline, David Warwick is there. He's there with his girlfriend, Melanie Gibb. He mentions the fact that Chad and Lori speak with him or try to teach him about the $144,000. He also learned that Chad and Lori have been married 5 times in 5 lifetimes. According to nearly every single witness, they always say Lori does most of the talking. And the thing is, Lori feels very confident that anyone that she speaks to will believe the nonsense that she is spewing at them. We heard how Melanie Gibb said that Lori appeared to be affectionate with JJ.
So sometimes I would watch her with him, and she was very affectionate and loving to him. I watched her sing a song to him as she was going to put him to bed. She seemed to care a lot about him. And other times, as you know, I got to know her as time went on. He seemed to, frustrated. And so the connection, maybe wasn't as, I didn't see them interacting as much the same way. She was distracted a lot, so I don't know how to explain it very well, but it was, she was just trying to help him, trying to settle down or whatever, but.
From your observations, JJ and Lori appeared to interact more when you had first met JJ.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And it seems like those interactions declined over time.
I would say a little bit. But.
And I think you indicated from your observations, Lori was busy with some other things, or.
Yeah, she's distracted a lot.
Distracted.
Another example of Melanie Gibb not wanting to tell the truth or tell the full details, but it sounds like she was witnessing that Lori was not wanting to mother JJ. Not really. Maybe Lori Vallow was just putting on a show. Something she had done with her family for years, because at one point, what she was obsessed with was being a good mother, a better mom, and family compared to the rest around her. Melanie Gibb says that their relationship at this point, they're not seeing each other as often like they did when she was in Arizona and they lived 20 minutes within each other. So new information that a lot of people are learning is the fact that Lori wasn't really reading all that many of Chad's books. All we can do is take the clues that Melanie Gibb gives us during testimony. Try our best to put the puzzle together. A lot of people don't understand it, but they're saying that Lori had an attraction to Chad from the very beginning.
There was definitely attraction in the beginning, right from the beginning. So
And did you specifically observe any of Lori's actions towards Chad or how her demeanor appeared?
She seemed very interested in him, like someone that would meet somebody they're attracted to. She seemed flattered by him, and very enticed by the conversation, and flirty-like. I would say a little flirty-like as well.
And do you know what Chad Daybell did for a living?
He was an author and a publisher and also a sexton.
And had you ever read any of his books?
I have.
Do you know if Miss Vallow Daybell had read any of his books?
She had.
And do you know if she'd read those books prior to meeting him?
She only read, I think, just a few, but she hadn't read all of his books. And I don't know if she made the connections yet of who he was with the books. I'm not sure about that.
That's an interesting statement. Not sure she made a connection with him in the books. So we're going to listen to a little bit more of the star witness, in quotes, by the way. Melanie Gibb talk on the relationship of Lori and Chad. Gosh, I don't know how prosecutors could have accepted these poor testimonies.
Did he indicate to you anything about whether or not they were going to be open about their feelings for each other?
She just shared how they felt with me. She was open with it with me.
Do you know if they were sharing this information with other people?
Just probably people in their small group of circle. I wouldn't think anybody else.
Outside of multiple probations, did Chad and, well, let me back up. Did Lori ever indicate anything about having a special mission here on Earth?
Yes.
And what did she tell you about that?
She felt that she was part of the 144,000, and then as she developed her relationship with Chad, she felt like they were the head leaders of it.
And when you talk about the 144,000, can you explain a little bit about what that would mean?
It's reference from Scripture and Bible and in the Doctrine and Covenants about a group of 144,000 that would be here during the return of our Savior, and they would help do a great mission of missionary work throughout the world. They would have a lot of a spiritual endowment from on high.
So if someone were to be the head of that 144,000, would that be a pretty high calling?
Absolutely.
Would that be a position of pretty significant power?
Yes.
What you're about to hear next is one of the most important pieces to the puzzle. Listen close.
Do you recall approximately when Lori started talking about being part of the 144,000 or the head of the 144,000?
Right when I met her.
And then I think so, and I guess I should break this down. I kind of asked a compound question there. So she first starts talking about being part of the 144,000 when you first meet her. Would that be correct?
Correct.
And then I think you'd already indicated after she met Chad, she indicated that she and Chad were the heads of the 144,000 or the leaders.
Correct.
Do you recall approximately how long after meeting Chad she started telling you that?
Within weeks, probably.
Do you recall Lori ever telling you about a light and dark scale?
Yes.
Did she ever explain to you what the light and dark scale was?
She did.
And what did she tell you regarding that?
She told me that people that were light were people that before they came to this planet, when we lived in a pre-mortal realm, basically our spirits lived there before we physically came here, that those that signed contracts and made agreements with the Savior were light, and those that were dark were those that signed contracts with Satan.
Do you recall when she first started telling you about light and dark? the light and dark scale?
It was sometime after she met Chad, that few weeks, when she met him. I would say probably pretty immediate. It feels like it was like it could have been possibly that weekend or just days after that, after she met him.
And when she would tell you these things, would she also essentially be teaching you about this?
Correct.
Did you observe her teaching any other people these things?
Yes.
And do you recall who else you observed her teach these things to?
I saw her teach them to the girls that I mentioned earlier.
So according to Melanie Gibb, we hear Lori Vallow as the teacher and the speaker once again. She's teaching people like Nicole, Serena, Melanie Boudreaux, Alex Cox. She mentions people from a podcast. Could that be Thor, Jason Mao? Those are the only ones that I can think of that they've done podcasts with for right now. So when David Warwick says they're sitting there and they're talking about the 144,000 and that Lori's doing most of the talking, Melanie is backing that up, that perhaps Chad isn't the teacher, but Lori. See, Lori believes that she has the almighty power to, as a translated being, to give revelation, to predict events and deaths, when zombies would leave bodies, and for other disaster events. This is a lot of information that we're missing when you hear testimony. And I want to make sure, I know I've mentioned this before, but a lot of these prediction and dated events wouldn't happen. I want to go over this again, how Lori was predicting Charles and JJ would die in a car wreck.
He was getting ready to go to Texas, and I don't know if he was there already, but that she had saw him in a car accident. I believe JJ might have been with him in the car accident, but that he died in it. And so he would not be coming back home by January 1st.
And do you know if JJ was with Charles during that time?
He was.
And do you know if JJ would have been traveling back with Charles?
Yes, he was.
Do you know if Charles was in an accident at that time?
He was not.
Did you ever talk to Lori about the fact Charles was not in an accident?
Yes, I did.
What did she tell you regarding that?
I asked her what happened. You shared that you thought he was going to pass away. And she said he didn't because Satan interfered with the plan.
And when she talked about the plan, did she tell you whose plan it was?
She would talk about just from her own experiences. Often she would either have what she would call revelation about different experiences with Charles, or maybe she would also talk about her experiences with Chad and how they envisioned getting together, that their spouses would pass away, so that was the plan that was revealed to them. They believed that their spouses would pass away.
So, not only is JJ becoming dark and a zombie, Lori's nearly entire family has become dark. Lori has a long history of excluding her family whenever she starts a new relationship with a man. Lori says that her family is working against her. So what could a motive be that she's saying that most of her family members are dark, like her father Barry, Alex Cox, and a few others, even some are later. What's interesting about them being dark is they're the ones that are raising red flags, and also they're the ones that's going to ask questions about those missing children. At least the main group of people that would be interested in Tylee and JJ. While Melanie Gibb seemed more like Lori's partner in crime, it turns out that around this time, Zulema she's become more powerful in this group and more reliable for Lori's plans. Zulema also admits that she and Lori spent a lot of time in the temple together, just like Melanie Gibb and Lori used to do in Arizona. Lori also gives Zelima and everyone in this group that believe that they had these special gifts since they were children, especially, the support and confidence to build this power. They used them in castings.
So what was your gift that brought you into that circle? What was your gift? Because each person's circle had a gift.
Nobody really had a gift until they stepped. It seems like they had a gift all of a sudden when they stepped into the circle. Does that make sense? Like there was no gift outside of it except for Sulema. Sulema seemed to be the one that had the gift of moving the earth because she seemed to the visionary stuff she could see. So she's the only one that I knew of that had that kind of gift.
Do you remember Lori giving anybody assignments? Okay, you be water, you be fire.
Yeah, a little bit. She started to learn it more. But that probably backed off after a while because she stopped. You know, like I said, she got rid of some people in the group. So then it kind of just branched off to her and Lori would do a lot of it on their own in the temple. And I'd come and see them in the temple later. I was like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, oh, we just were talking about how to, do this and da-da-da-da.
Sulema, Lori?
What?
Who? Lori and who?
Sulema. So they'd be in the temple doing it sometimes. And they would just do it like they'd sit beside each other and just hold hands or something like that. Like nobody could really tell what they're doing. And they would talk about, I see them talking and then they would just close their eyes and then think that they could do something like leave their bodies, And I've heard people do weird stuff like that. Like it happens to people. I don't know. I've never had those experiences. But anyway, so somebody would do something about water and I can't remember the words. They were so different. Sorry, I'm trying.
So this is what Melanie Gibb is good at, and that is keeping secrets secret and getting around the questions without saying anything. I guarantee you, if you've seen something that was really strange and different, you're going to remember it. She can remember all these silly details, but she can't remember these crazy powers that Zelima had and how she used them. I don't understand how the church still has her as part of this religion. Or just very dangerous person. I wanted so badly to believe Melanie Gibb and Melanie Boudreaux, the two Melanies, but as most of us know, it's hard when you see all the signs that you've been told about, that they preach about, as someone pretending to be of God, when reality is they're acting like Satan. The lack of remorse and love and caring. They like to say these words and act as if this is important to them, but the behaviors just don't match. Police interview, you can actually get an idea of how Melanie Gibb feels like she can manipulate people and how she can make them, well, she likes to convince herself that she's friends with these people, but detectives are never your friends if they're investigating a case. But in this interrogation, you can hear where Melanie thinks that they're just kind of hanging out as friends and chatting. What they're going to chat about is Brandon Boudreaux. Melanie Boudreaux's husband, or ex-husband. She gives us an example of his darkness, how he become dark, and just how dark he can become. Now, listen closely to what she says, how Lori used Chad during this time.
Body have to be destroyed.
Oh, not. See, they were learning. It was never figured out. This was Chad pretending more and more along the way, is my opinion now. It's like he was just like, okay, that didn't work, but what can I come up with to keep Lori happy, right? And let me just figure this out and come up with, I don't know if he even played all the way through, because Lori was so pushy about being with him, and I think he was so infatuated, which you and I both know he was with her. I think he just got more creative in his darkness. And I think it just went on line by line by line. I don't think that's my feeling. I could be wrong. Maybe he had the whole, some people say, a writer, knows the end of it. I don't know.
All right, so let me ask you this then. With these castings, we know that, or at least I think we know, it was with Charles. They tried casting Charles.
Yeah.
Did they at one point try casting Brandon?
I think so. It feels familiar. I'll just say that because they deemed him as really dark after right about the time probably either right after Charles died, because then they were trying to help Melanie because now she would go now hook her hooks into Melanie. She got totally taken out by Lori, and Brandon is all these things, and he's now not only is he dark, he's actually we found out more about him. So first he's this. Oh wait, we discovered more about him. Now now we know he's actually a high level. He's like up there with Hitler kind of thing, right?
Right.
And yeah,
Did they ever say that?
he was one of the Hitler crowd. He was one of the group that associated with Hitler. Mm-hmm.
Was he?
Yeah, did you know that?
I must have missed that somewhere.
Yeah, well, you're not missing much.
But Tammy.
Oh, so Tammy was, let's see. That's a good one, because that one's different.
She goes on to talk about Tammy. This is important. Listen closely.
That's a good one, because that one's different. Because she was sweet, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, it was at the very, no, must have not been Tammy.
Well,
But that's a good thing. Thank you, because I got to route it around. Tammy, what would they have said about her? Because she didn't have an evil spirit in her. So then at the very end, she did. And who? Because it was, she probably told me like once, so it's not like there was a lot of time spent on Tammy, that, to my knowledge. What did she say about Tammy? I don't know that she. I remember she said right in September. Oh, there's evil spirits starting to work on Tammy now. Tammy's good, but they're not in her yet. They're like working on her. And they're coming around the house, something like that. And then she had to knock at the door one night, and Tammy wakes up to go see the house. And of course, Chad and Lori would say, "Oh, that was Julie Rose's spirit that came and knocked on the door."
okay,
That sound
you
familiar?
lost me right there.
I didn't know if this was. I did share this with somebody. I really feel like it's come out somewhere about the journey.
It probably is. But you gotta understand, there's so much that's coming out here. Sometimes we have trouble keeping straight.
I don't blame you. That's why I keep saying, call me. If you have like a brain cramp, Melanie can help me sort me out, because I can at least I got my memory.
Oh, yeah, that's why we're here.
I know, but I was just saying, when you're going through stuff and you're going through all this stuff, you need to keep it collective. Ask me, because I'm going to tell the truth. Nobody's going to tell it like me.
All right. So tell me again about the knocking on the door.
So something about one night there was, this is what Chad would tell Lori, that Tammy woke up to a knock at the door, and then he would say, maybe to Julie, I don't know. I mean, to his wife, I don't know. But he said, she told me that he said it was Julie's spirit knocking at the door. That's what woke her up. So that was one indication. And it seems like there could have been other things I can't recall. But she just said, I felt this feeling of like they were kind of like around her house, these evil spirits. That's what it felt like when she was telling me. So you know how you feel things, you picture it, but you don't have the words to describe it. That these evil spirits are now trying to get a hold of her. Oh, and then she says she's starting to question if he's seeing somebody else.
Or
Tammy was. That's what she would tell. So that's how they knew the evil spirits were in her. Is because now she was starting to. And I don't remember what she said. Something like, "Are you seeing another woman?" Something maybe like that.
Do you know when that was?
Yeah, that was the time we went in September. That weekend I was up there. She would tell me that, and while I was in her apartment.
Lori told you that.
Yeah, and that was when she was telling that JJ.
I think we didn't know that.
Yeah, everything I can remember, I tried my best and as fresh as I could. Yeah, I did share. I feel like I shared it. It feels super familiar with me sharing that. Anyway, so, but she didn't tell me when she got in her spirit. I think after she died. So I didn't know, and I don't know that she ever said who was. She was trying to describe it, but I don't even remember what she said.
Can I interject really quick?
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to the castings, because
We don't know how much of this is true. You know, there's stuff that Melanie's holding back, and she doesn't want it to look a certain way, because why? She doesn't want to look bad. All of her lying, manipulation, and secrets are based off of her own feelings and how she wants people to perceive her. It's pathetic. You were wrong. You'd be better off admitting you're wrong, tell the truth, tell the story, and say, hey, I'm human. I'm admitting I'm wrong. But she doesn't do that. So did Tammy believe or ask Chad or suspect Chad that he might have been seeing another woman? Now you got to remember that Tammy is used to seeing her husband kind of run off with other women. He's done it with Julie Rowe, paraded her in front of Tammy's face. And we heard testimony of how Chad even brought Julie Rowe over to other people's houses. It seems like Chad's entire life was based off finding women that he could manipulate and use in multiple ways, living in this world with his fantasy thoughts, trying to make the fantasy a reality. But Tammy has these evil spirits knocking on her door. They're surrounding her. Demons are trying to get to Tammy. And I believe that Melanie Gibb knows way more than what she's sharing with this detective. On our next video, we're going to actually talk a little more about Tammy. And David Warwick actually asked Chad Daybell about Tammy. Was she a good wife? And Chad said that Tammy was a good wife. Today is Valentine's Day. I'm working hard to get this video finished and loaded. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I loaded some of your comments. Having trouble finding some of your opinions on the case. But eventually I'll find them and I'll keep adding comments to the videos. I really appreciate you guys so much and the support that you give me. Happy Valentine's, guys. Enjoy your day. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys soon.